how can this possibly be happening in the United States of America? How can this be happening? And we have to be tough, and we have to be smart, and we have to be vigilant. We have to be vigilant, and we have to have people report other people when they see things happening, because they're not doing that. They're not doing it. They're not reporting people, and they have to do that.
As with everything else, tragedy in America quickly turns to a political battle. In the time we live in, perhaps it should just be expected and dealt with. However, this one is a touchy war where it would seem people on both sides have trouble hearing the truth. In the wake of the Orlando shootings and the almost immediate word that the slaughter was possibly connected to radical Islamic terror, presumptive Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump called out American Muslims for what, in his opinion, is not doing their job as Americans.
And you're going to find that with this madman. The people in the area, the people in the neighborhood, they know there's something off with him, and they don't report them to the police. They don't report them to the FBI.
But those comments are really not based in fact and are indeed only an opinion many people share. According to the director of the FBI, they and other American law enforcement agencies get plenty of help rooting out potential terrorists from local Muslim communities. And espousing anything of a contrary opinion is flat wrong. James Comey, addressing reporters this week, said they do not want people committing violence, either in their community or in the name of their faith. And so some of our most productive relationships are with people who see things and tell us things who happen to be Muslim. It's not a new debate, but one that bears its teeth every time there is an attack on American soil that correctly or incorrectly is tied to radical Islamic terror. The accountability of an entire faith living in America. You should already be on the line, prepared to comment on this discussion. We're heading your way momentarily at 1-877-Newsmax, 1-877-639-7629. Let's begin by welcoming back the president of the Republican Muslim Coalition, born in Pakistan and moving to Portland, Oregon at the age of 12. A proud American lawyer and a former Democrat, Saba Ahmed. Saba, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks so much for joining us. And I know that you are, and have told us in the past, a supporter of Donald Trump for president as a proud Republican. But when Donald Trump makes such claims as these, and then says that we almost have to become not just vigilant, but have to spend more time focusing on Muslims, does that insult you? Does that concern you about rhetoric?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I think when Donald Trump makes such comments, he displays his ignorance about Islam and Muslims, and he's alienating a lot of people, and he is losing his polling numbers because of that anti-Islamic rhetoric. We were very disappointed and shocked, just like anybody else. I think Muslim Americans are on the front lines fighting extremism, and they're the best partners. He talked in his speech about how we are great partners for law enforcement. I think he needs to do much more to reach out to the Muslim American community.
Here's something else that I do need to get your comment on. And again, this is based on the gentleman who likely will be the Republican candidate. Yesterday, Donald Trump was talking again about this, and he was calling for surveillance at mosques, at Muslim places of worship. And this was what he said during a rally in Atlanta.
We aren't vigilant, and we aren't smart. And we have to go and we have to maybe check respectfully the mosques, and we have to check other places, because this is a problem that if we don't solve it, it's going to eat our country alive.
Saba, in that he said respectfully is the word that he absolutely put in there, which I believe a lot of people are missing in talking about the comment. But he did say that we do need to go to mosques. Is it possible, in your opinion, to go respectfully and do that and ask people of the Muslim faith to cooperate?
Well, people who are going to mosques aren't the ones who are getting radicalized here. Most people are getting radicalized online, not in mosques. We're missing the point. Donald Trump has yet to visit a mosque himself. If he's going to be targeting Muslims, he has to engage with the Muslim American community. By alienating 1.7 billion Muslims around the world, he's not going to win this war on terror. He needs us just as much as we need him. If we can work together, we have to figure out a way to respect one another without hurting our places of worship. There has to be credible reason, probable cause to go into a place to before you can investigate an entire mosque or community. I mean, FBI has done surveillance on mosques all over the U.S. and they have not found anything. We are facing a very serious challenge right now with ISIS propaganda online. This guy was not exactly getting radicalized in his Florida mosque. He got radicalized online and nobody knew about it. And I mean, we're missing the point that there is no counter narrative to all that nonsense that's coming online. And unless we address it, I was glad to see Representative McCall talk about the counter narrative online. These people, this is like lone wolves. Like, how can we predict such attacks? How can we counter it unless we address this online? I mean, I'm very shocked by Donald Trump's naive comments, and I think, you know, if he's serious about winning the election, he wants to be a president for all Americans, which includes Muslims. He has to respect all places of worship and not call for unconstitutional, illegal Muslim bans. I mean, that's so fundamental to this country, the freedom of religion. I don't want to see such type of anti-Islamic rhetoric coming out from him. And I hope that going forward, he will visit a mosque, he will reach out to Muslim American voters, and stand strongly with us in fighting terrorism.
All right, 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-NEWSMAX. You want to join us? Saba, let me get one more thing from you very quickly here. Dr. Robert Rabil is a professor of Middle Eastern Studies at Florida Atlantic University. Great friend of this show. He's appeared here many times. He was with us yesterday. He was talking about the need for communities, not the mosques, but the communities themselves, to spot the radicalized among them and then make sure that they are then reported to the authorities. Here's what he said.
Those who are moving toward radicalism, what they are saying, how they are behaving, how their behavior, the pattern of their behavior. And this is something the family could say, their neighbors could say, and of course their co-workers could say.
Now, do you agree with what he is saying, and is that already being done? Because the FBI tells us that it is already being done.
Exactly. It is being done, and this person was on FBI surveillance. They interviewed him 3 times. They missed the ball on him. I mean, they let him go purchase AK-15 legally. I mean, I don't understand how a person that's on the FBI radar gets away with purchasing such assault weapons. I mean, and the community is the first ones who are reporting a lot of people, but telling all of us that somehow we're not doing enough, we're not good enough, like, that's insulting, and that's not going in the right direction.
Let me get a couple of comments here from the folks who are joining us here at 1-877-NEWSMAX. Eli in Smithfield, North Carolina. Eli, on what we're talking about here right now, would you say that there needs to be less rhetoric here? Do we need to understand that the Muslims who live in America are indeed trying to help their country?
Right. I actually would like to kind of revert back to the original question about the unity after 9/11. I don't really want to focus on my statement with the rhetoric of either Trump or Clinton or their policy differences and where they stand, but it was such a during that time, I mean, 9/11 was such a gut punch to the country. We were blindsided. We weren't expecting anything like that to happen. And it was so shocking with all the deaths and the destruction, you know, in Washington and Pennsylvania and obviously New York. I think that was the key reason why we're able to unite so quickly, and that unity remained for so long, because it was so shocking, because we weren't ready for things like this, and the ordinary people didn't foresee the issue of terrorism ever being a problem, you know. But since that time, obviously our mindset has been stuck. We're not going to forget that time. And as the years have gone on, there's been years of relatively, calmness.
I'm afraid I'm just about out of time. I have to let you go, Eli,
because
we had to keep it down to 30 seconds, but we get what you're saying. Thank you very much for joining us. Saba, 30 seconds that I have left here. All that we're talking about here right now, and again, I know that you have said that you would support Donald Trump in the past. Will you support him now unless he apologizes here or takes a different stand?
I'm going to be supporting the Republican nominee, and I do look forward to Donald Trump changing his rhetoric. If he's serious about winning the White House this November, he has to tone down his anti-Islamic rhetoric and reach out to Muslim Americans. I want to see Muslims on his cabinet and his senior administration posts. I hope that he's going to get well-versed on the Muslim American community. We have 7 to 10 million votes in this community. He does not need to alienate swing voters.
And we should point out, too, that you have offered to meet with him, but he has not yet met with you, which, quite frankly, I think you should do. It would help heal some of the rifts indeed. Saba Ahmed, it's always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us. Has Donald Trump made a blunder, a tactical blunder, when Americans are becoming tired of his talk? Or has he fired a blow for independence against a stodgy Republican Party? We're going to take that on your phone calls when the political animal returns.